Hey guys, it's Joyce. This is Medusa Was Framed, and you are looking at my floor and my friend Michelle.Adkins goodies on the floor. Michelle and I were going to go do some site work today, and not only did we get rained out, but we got chased by the rain. We ended up going to have some Thai food instead, and instead of doing site work in a consistently raining St. Augustine, we decided to bring the tools back here to my apartment and talk about some other things instead. So if you've been watching some of my videos, you know I've been talking about Michelle and the amazing Akashic Records work that she does. Just remarkable, scary, thorough, complete. And we've got the camera on her items here because I'm not sure if Michelle is in the mood to have her face on camera for the first time. So anyway, this is my friend Michelle.Adkins, and she is a practitioner of the Soul Realignment Akashic Records program. She's also a facilitator of the Compassion Key program. And I'm going to let her talk to you about both of those things. And if you want to lift the camera at any time and talk into the camera, feel free, my dear. But I'm just going to let you talk.
Hello, everyone. Tackle the Akashic Records first. I see this particular modality as very foundational, kind of black and white. It's got a very strict protocol. And so I see it as sort of the pillars of where to come back to who we are, where to look for those parts of us that aren't ours or that we're ready to release. And so with this modality in particular, what I do is basically it's a comparison between your original divine soul blueprint created at the moment your soul was created. And so it's the most transparent and reflective of your true energy that's out there. And after maybe hundreds, thousands, millions of lifetimes across the universe, we've accumulated many distortions, karma, blocks, restrictions that we've agreed to in some form or fashion, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. And these don't allow a true reflection of who we are. And at this time on Earth, as we're making this great transition, the souls that are here that chose to ascend are doing it in a third dimensional reality while moving up, going through this transition while in the body. And it is my understanding that this has been done in other places, but not in the body. So worlds and were cleared, and all the souls on those worlds, planets, star systems, what have you, all died and were in that holding area. And when they reincarnated, it was at that point that they were in their new reality of a higher dimensional level. But we're doing this in the physical, and it's something I understand hasn't been done before, and that's why there's so much attention on Earth as we go through this, because we're literally changing our DNA structure from carbon-based to crystalline based. And but in order to do that, we have to get rid of everything that doesn't belong to us. And the purpose for that is so that we can create the void within ourselves in order to bring in more of our higher self. Because what our soul, our higher self, really wants to do is to ascend in the body as its highest self. And we won't need any other connections outside of us to guide us, to give us wisdom. We will be our own guide and wisdom literally in the body. But to make room for that higher self, we must keep clearing to bring in that more and more pieces of us. So my modality, if you can think of it as almost laying side by side your original soul blueprint versus the one you currently hold. And I connect through this with my higher self and with the other person's higher self. And their higher self basically tells my higher self, which tells me what they're ready to release. And those are the things that will come up as the karma, blocks, or restrictions. And so however much is revealed doesn't really matter. It comes in layers sometimes. So you may have a lot up front and it gets lighter as you go, or the exact opposite. It's just whatever the higher self feels the person they are incarnated in is ready to let go because it's no longer serving them. They've learned the lesson, whatever it may be. And so I am looking for 3D, 4D, and 5D blocks and restrictions and karma, distortions and corruptions that are not reflected on the original Divine Soul Blueprint. I also look for vibration rates, your soul group of origination, which is the first place you incarnated after your soul was created. So it can be somewhat interesting, but it's not the end all, as most of us have been to many, many other places. So you could have a connection with that original one or not. But it does reflect that first place you incarnated into. I also look for the energy centers that make you your unique soul. So there are 8 energy centers that souls are created with. And these are like creator substances, you could say, of how energy is sort of focused. And each one of us will have a different combination of these 8 energy centers. And the first one is divine compassion. The second is divine manifestation. The third is divine order and beauty. The fourth is divine love. The fifth is divine communication. The sixth is divine truth. The seventh is divine power, which is things around freedom. And the eighth is divine wisdom. And so each one of these will be included in every soul. And it could be anywhere from really probably I've seen high 20s to 1% for each one of those. And whatever our primary energy center is, this is the most prominent thing within us. And it also is how, if we make choices that uphold the positive polarity of that energy center, we get more vital force energy. And so it's very important that we understand which one of these make up the greatest part of our soul, because when we do make those choices that align with that energy center, we're bringing in more vital force energy to support us in this clearing process and support our goals and dreams. When we make choices that go against our divine soul blueprint and our primary energy center, we start to cut off our vital force energy supply. And if we do this enough times, in enough lifetimes, this constitutes a negative choice, and it's reflected as receiving less vital force energy. And we can start off as positive souls, getting vital force energy from source. And after many lifetimes of making negative choice after negative choice, which is really just a choice going against your energy center, you can completely cut yourself off from source, then become what is categorized as a negative soul, which means you don't get vital force energy from source and you must get it from other people.
I'm going to jump in here real quick while you drink your water. So I want to say that I had the honor of getting a reading with Michelle. It was the most extensive experience I have ever been through, anything in this regard. If I remember correctly, you asked for the spelling of my full name and my birth date and my birth time. Is that right?
It's current full name, full name, birthplace, and birth date.
Okay. And then she took that information, and then it's very extensive. I mean, it took you a couple days at least, I remember. And that was a scheduling thing too. And we live in the same town, so I was able to meet her at her home, but I know she'll also meet people at, whatever, meet for lunch or whatever type of thing. But and maybe it's because we're kind of talking the same language anyway, though just using different words, but the reading went on for hours. I think it went on for 3 or 4 hours, literally.
And it takes me probably 1.5 to 2 times what I give you to actually sort through all of the information that I'm looking for, because it's literally, this is all the data. And so I'm getting the who, why, what, where, from what lifetime, what type of karma, what type of program, what is the energy of the program, what chakra is the program attached to, who sent it to you, or why you agreed to it, broken DNA codes, genetic karma, soul contracts, negative thought forms, bargains, constraints, vows, chakra imbalances, portals, implants, is just part of it. So these are all the things I'm searching for, and I'm looking for everything possible for every soul on earth. So there's a lot to go through, and that's why I say this is one half of what I do, and this is the very strict foundational part that I really stay within the protocols of the modality. And I literally had to go through a background check, spiritual background check, before my teacher would even take my money for me to learn this modality. So
I love that.
So I mean, she doesn't care. She's cleared herself enough that money doesn't matter. But she knows that for those to do this work, it's going to be certain types of souls, and if there's someone holds enough negativity that they have blocks to truth, then they wouldn't be able to do this, and so she's not going to take their money and then find that out later. We find that out right up front.
And you have to, and she has to be sure that your containers are strong enough to handle the movement of all this data that because guys, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a form that came with my reading, and it was like 4 double-sided pages long, just of typed data and charts and graphs.
Here's Gaia's, and I did one for, I was asked, I was requested by someone if I would please do one for Gaia from this person's. I was actually doing my other modality, and they said, I have a message for you. They're asking me to ask you if you would please do an Akashic Records for Gaia. And so I said, of course I would. And literally, I mean, this is all the data. And this isn't even like a person, but it is all of the negative energy that has been directed towards the earth, and the collect the positive side of humanity from the forces on the opposite polarity. Um, and so there's a ton of data. Um, I've done training in level 1, 2, and 3. So there are probably about I would say 8 forms at least for me to fill out for all of those different levels. And so it gets very, very specific. And
Yeah, this is extensive. This is not some quick little 10-minute Etsy read, guys. This is, I literally think we had to take a break and have a snack.
Yeah.
Literally. I mean, this was a very extensive read. You honestly have to be prepared for this. And you gave me, I don't want to say homework, but you gave me as the information sinks in, whenever there's any kind of spiritual work or Reiki work or energetic work, things will continue to reveal themselves. And so like for the next 3 or 4 days, I got texts from Michelle with questions and insights and tools that I could access if I needed to, because maybe something was bursting in from my unconscious that was activated through the read, and she has the Bibles over here of all the modalities and the tools to help process that information. So yeah, this is the reading itself is don't have anything else planned to do that day. It's gonna emotionally and spiritually kick your butt. But yeah, this is an extensive.
And it will give a lot of people clarity, and also just confirmation of something that you might have known or felt, but you didn't know where it was coming from. You didn't have any way to tangibly explain it. And so a lot of times this will come through with people that you're surrounded with, or in how you're reacting, and you're not understanding, well, why am I reacting that way? And why can't I get beyond something? Well, you know what? If you've got a program that says, you're going to be running, if you've got fear, on your third chakra, then you're going to have a trouble being self-empowered. It's going to be scary. And you may have a lot of trouble getting past that. And so, but it'll give you maybe clarification as to why that was happening. And also just, you feel like you have the support of, okay, I wasn't just imagining these things, like they're really happening energetically. And I feel that no matter what I do, I can't get past this. And we have to understand that these things can be held at different dimensional levels. So
yes,
if we're
that was the freakiest part. That was the freakiest part. The layers unraveling, the veils lifting while you're talking to me, and my mouth falling to the floor.
Because there's a lot of people who get stuck on the spiritual path, and it's because they may have done a whole lot of work healing themselves mentally and emotionally, and so they may be acknowledging the hurts that come up. They may be trying to repattern their neurological pathways and their thinking, and so they're doing positive statements. They're connecting with their inner child, and they're practicing self-love, but these are all 4D constructs, and so we can do all the healing we want at that 4th dimensional level. And if this block and restriction is only held at the 4th dimensional level, then you're going to see the breakthrough. You're going to see the freedom. But if you're also holding it at a 3rd or a 5th dimensional level, then you've got to find out what's required to clear it from those dimensions. And that's why a lot of people, whether it's the law of attraction or, affirmations, blah, 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 they work for some people. And that's because they're healing or clearing that block at that level, and it's not showing up anywhere else. We also get a lot of people, and I've been that person who is just doing it from the mind, and we don't put any action into our 3D level, and we have to, because we are in the physical world.
That was so important what you just said there. That was so important because this is where we are.
Yes, yes, and spiritual, seekers many times think, oh, I want to be in the 5D, so I must claim my 5D self and stay in that, because that's higher, that's better, and higher is better, and these are 3D concepts. However, we're in a 3D physical environment. We must play by the rules of the dimension that we're currently in. Granted, we're moving forward, and so we're really holding third, fourth, and fifth dimensional consciousness and levels here, constructs, and so we're in all of them. We have to make sure that we're truly following the rules of each. We are clearing at those levels, and so I do look and see. There are some of these that are clearly three-dimensional blocks and restrictions, and there's others that could be at any of the levels. And there's other things to it that if you hold a fifth dimensional consciousness and your vibration rate is at least a fifth dimensional soul vibration rate, then there's a unique opportunity to check your parallel lives and see if you are being stuck from a parallel life.
That's a mind-blowing one.
Yeah, and it's the only opportunity you have to do this. If your consciousness goes above the 5D into the 6D, then basically I don't have to look for this because it's already been solved on some level. And so it's not really an opportunity miss, but it just comes up for that 5D and 5D. And for me, I found where my third and my fifth parallel life were blocking me here. And that's one of the most frustrating restrictions or karma to deal with, because it doesn't reflect our reality here, because it's not. It's the reality of a parallel life, but it's bleeding into
Like,
this
huh?
one. Yeah, and so that can be quite frustrating. So I do look for those things. And just so you know, the way that I clear all this is that I set an intention within your Akashic records for everything I find to be cleared, healed, removed, canceled, whatever you want to call it. And for me, it's really, ultimately, it's a transmutation, because we cannot create nor destroy energy. We can only change its form. And so saying I want to remove it, so you can't really kill it. If you say you want to remove it, then it's still in that distorted state, kind of flying out into the ether, and it may attach itself to someone else. So to truly get rid of that detriment, whatever it may be, you really want to transmute it back to love and light, and releasing it to source. And that way, it's really solving it from, to the end of its life, so to speak, as a negative form, because many of these started life as positive forms, and they got hijacked, they got tricked, and they have been stuck in that negativity, because that is a consciousness, whether it is a thought form, an implant. These are still expressing some form of consciousness, and many times they want to be freed of this. Not always, but sometimes. And so that's just what we do. And so once I set that intention within the Akashic record, it sits there, um, pretty much neutral. I can't make choices for anyone, and I don't want to. What I'm doing is setting this intention that stays in place for about um, a month to a couple months, and it only becomes active, you could say, once the person has done their homework,
Yep.
which is basically giving permission for this energetic and spiritual intention that I'm setting. Then, so if the person never does the homework and never puts any effort into changing, making new decisions and new actions, then what I've put in the record just dissolves over time until it's no longer there. It has no power without you empowering it. And um, I'm just doing it from an energetic and spiritual perspective to support the person through identifying these blocks and restrictions so that they can acknowledge them and release them and know what new positive changes to make. And then they are giving that permission, and then they are the ones putting in the action at the 3D level. So I never, I work within a framework of following the modality with its very specific protocol to getting someone's permission. And then I ask my guides, have I located this soul? And have I mistaken this soul for any other? So that's the only reason I need the information that I do, is so that I truly can locate the soul that is wanting this clearing. And again, I'm not taking on any of their responsibility or work to do, nor authority. So I am not connected to however they decide to make choices. I'm just relaying information. And this is just information to help you bring in more vital force energy, more positive energies, because now you know, okay, to align with my energy center, these are the type of choices that I need to make, and these are the type I want to stay away from. And if you're into soul groups, then not all of them come from stars or planets, I will say.
That's
And
going to be a shock for some people.
yeah, that would be. There are some people that do not follow or do not identify themselves as with star systems or planets. They have totally unique ways of identifying themselves. And some of
I don't identify with any star system.
yeah, and that's what came up for her. So she's part of a very unique soul group that has massive ties to Earth. And it's just a very, very unique perspective. And it's what was I going to say? Some of them are planets that are gone. We have Maldak, which sat between Mars and Jupiter. Maldak had nuclear technology and blew their planet up. I don't know if you're familiar with that story, but the remnants of their planet are the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter.
Yeah.
And that explosion was so strong that it destroyed that planet. And then it also scraped the environment off the face of Mars, and it tilted the Earth into our axis. And souls from Mars and Maldak carry a lot of trauma. And they both came to Earth. The ones who survived came to Earth, and it's been, they're trying to free themselves from all of that trauma. So there, you can hold trauma that isn't rooted in Earth, and this can explain for some people why they feel they have seriously deep sadness that they just can't reach.
Absolutely.
And that's soul level. Like, you will never find that in earthly things.
Or people that have chronic illnesses and there's no earthbound reason why, right?
And it could be anything, literally. It could be a belief system. It
Yeah.
could be a block you put on yourself just to keep yourself in check.
Right.
I check for negative unjustified karma. That's where we have done something in the past and we've all been perpetrators and we've all been victims. We've all been murderers and we've all been, you know, victims of murder. And so there, we have all, and it's to give us the whole perspective of being human. But there is this, if we have a perception of betrayal, a perception of just deep, a lot of karma, this can be reflected in a past life where we did do something that caused harm to someone else. It could be literal physical harm or emotional harm. And it caused so much pain that even though we have paid all of the karma back, we are not allowing ourselves to live the reality of paying it back. We keep and contain that debt, so to speak. And it's because we're afraid that we either won't learn our lesson or we're afraid that we're going to forget the lesson we learned. And so this is a way of ensuring, because we carry so much guilt and shame with whatever happened 10 lifetimes ago, and we've carried it through every lifetime. Because when I search for these blocks and restrictions, there are always going to be at least two karmic patterns, one for present life and one for a past life, or two or three. And so I group the ones together and they will be reflective in this way. But whatever I find that was created 8 lifetimes ago, that means you've carried it in every lifetime up until now, ever since. And that negative unjustified karma can really, really keep us stuck because it's self-imposed and we think it's helping us, and we're beyond it helping us. And so that can really set us free. And we really don't want to have any soul contracts other than those we make to come here on earth and be able to live in this 3D reality. Because even though we have, let's say, soulmates, if you have a soulmate contract that you made, let's say in medieval times, that you and your loved one were never going to break up and stay together forever, no matter what, you're literally calling in for the universe to test you on absolutely everything that could destroy a relationship. And so this does not help your relationship. Heaven does not work on merit. And so you're not gaining soulmate points or good karma by surviving all of these traumas and challenges that you called towards your relationship because you're in a soulmate contract. And so you can actually have a much better relationship after you clear that soulmate contract because you're no longer energetically challenging the universe to come up with something to prove or to break you up, and so you can prove that nothing is going to break you up. So things work like this that we can't always see or didn't receive knowledge about, that's happening, and we don't understand why it's happening. And so this gives you some clarity with that. And that's all that's what I'm trying to do.
So Michelle, if somebody wanted to, this is a lot. I mean, I had to talk, and we're friends, so like I know you and I know what to expect from you, and this is a realm of work that I'm familiar with, not to the extent that you are, but it wasn't new to me. It wasn't like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? I knew how to swim when I got in the water with you, but still there was a lot of preparation. So if someone is like, well, this seems like something that I'd like to learn a little bit more about, where do I start? How would you answer that person?
if they want to find out what their blocks and restrictions and karma, or they want to study this modality.
Oh, no, they want to talk, well, they want to talk to you about finding out a little bit more before they commit to a reading, because maybe it's, maybe they're used to just having some quick little Akashic record online, 1 hour Zoom call thing, and what you do is not that. What you do is extensive. And so they want to know a little bit more. So I don't think you have a website, right? You don't have a website, but
I don't.
but they can email you.
Absolutely. At Michelle.Adkins@outlook.com.
And I'll have that. And can I give them your phone number too?
Yeah.
And I'll have phone number in the comments below. But yeah, there's a lot. So if this is,
and they could do a soul, like just a soul profile.
Oh, okay, cool. Talk about that. Yeah, I did the big thing.
And yeah, you did the big one. But that would just give you your energy center, your soul group of origination.
Oh, okay.
Your soul specialties, which is how it's like your gifts and how you move between the dimensions. Your
this is like a 1-page report, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This would probably be more like a 45 minute thing where I'd be mainly explaining how to use their energy center to make positive choices.
Okay, cool.
And then because I also look for a primary life lesson, how far completed you are with that lesson, how much support you're getting from other beings, angelics, cosmic, which are reflected in white and blue lights.
Oh yeah, the lights.
Yeah,
that was fascinating when we went over the lights.
Yeah,
that was so, because it rang so true, and you identified, you put things into a form of definition that I had never formed into definition before. So I remember when you were talking about the lights, it was like, oh my God, I know what you're talking about. Like it made sense because you gave things that I experienced names.
Yeah. And I don't know how other people experience things. And so even when you watched the video, you said it was profound for you. And I've had that from everybody, but they always have a unique perspective. And basically the video is just a way, because I can't, and no one can heal you from soul loss or from you hanging on to someone else's soul loss.
Right.
And so in order to reintegrate those soul pieces, there is like a galactic 2-minute video, which is it's got some background music, and it's a graphic basically in like kind of a sacred geometry kind of thing. And
it's kind of like what a lot of people right now would call like a galactic activation. It's that kind of thing. There's frequencies, but there's also the frequencies in the sacred geometry. And if you're in the right frame of mind, especially if you put yourself in like a theta state, it's very effective.
Yeah, that is the way you self-heal. So if I find that you've got some soul loss, or you're hanging on to, and what'll happen is if we have soul loss, then we're going to feel like there's something missing and we can't find it. It feels hidden. It feels like everything we try to put there or soothe it or whatever, it doesn't work. And so it could be that soul loss. And it's literally where we as a soul are carrying this imprint of trauma within a site within our soul. And as long as it's a part of us, we keep re-experiencing this because it's like an imprint. And so what we'll do is we'll tear it off and we'll like throw it out there because we can't take re-experiencing this horrific pain, because it's not so bad for everyone in this time period. But when we talk about the dark ages and that, I mean, people they went through horrible tragedy, torture. They watched their families I mean, they couldn't get creative enough on how to kill people, and we had to watch them while they did that to our children and our spouses, and that's a trauma that stays with you. And so lifetime after lifetime, we're experiencing this until we tear that off. But eventually we do have to call that back home so we can be whole. And so that's the reason why we do it. We're separating from it because we need a break. It's the word, it's so bad that we do that.
Yeah.
And then when we're hanging on to someone else's, we could feel that we've got pieces that don't fit anywhere. It's like this weird part of us that we can't explain. It doesn't seem to resonate with who we are, but it follows us, and it won't. It's like we can't separate from that piece, and it's literally some type of agreement we've made to carry someone else's trauma, um, and we're literally paying the karma for it. We've taken responsibility for it. So um, when we agree to do this, it's even if it's coming from a compassionate perspective, which it is, I would think. I can't think of another reason why someone would want to do that. But regardless, it's still a negative choice, and the only person who can heal it is the person that it belongs to. And so that's the point of the video, is it's so that it is completely, you must heal yourself from those two scenarios, and watching the video integrates your soul loss back in with you. And if you can get the other person, and we can't always do that, but if we can get the other person to watch it, then they can help reintegrate the soul loss that you were carrying. But if nothing else, you can at least have it out of your realm of responsibility. And it'll just sort of remain out there until the person it belongs to does their work. And so if they choose to do it, and you can get them to watch the 2-minute video for 7 days in a row, that's all it requires, then you will get that integration back. And there are also a lot of permission page scenarios, so that if this was a soul who was a disabled adult, someone who's just not sovereign or independent, then you could watch it on their behalf. But there's a lot of permissions like that. I can't just go in and heal members of my family, which is very sad. When I started,
no one can heal anybody else.
Yeah. And so
that's the secret.
Yeah,
that's the secret. We can only heal ourselves.
And that's, so true. And so, I can see who they are at soul level. And I just had a grandson, so I'm starting to get his story. And boy, he's a big soul. But he had to overcome a lot. I think he was a Maldak soul.
Oh, wow.
And he's got a challenging future with his parents. And so I hope to at least enlighten his mother, who's open to hearing, let's clear his karma and blocks and restrictions now as they come up. And he will have, and she will know who her child is at soul level right from the beginning. And that sets up a very unique, very supportive energy going forward.
So that's soul realignment, which you're a level 3 facilitator for. Is that correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing you do is
it's called Compassion Key, and this is much more fluid modality. This is where, again, we're healing ourselves. I am just facilitating, and the client is we are sort of triggering the hidden wounds through statements of I deserve, or I'm so sorry. And it brings up unbelievable, deeply hidden triggers that people had no clue were there.
Is it kind of neuro-linguistic programming? Is it a kind of way of that?
I'm told it's like, I think, and like tapping. So it energetically, I think it works similar. Yes. And so what we're doing is we're putting a portion, a piece of ourselves, a version of ourselves in a figure 8, and we are giving that version of ourselves complete love and compassion, from a perspective of that they have been hurt by other energies. And sometimes we believe that even if it's not true, and it really doesn't matter if it's not true. If we say, I'm so sorry, they sacrificed you for, wealth. I'm so sorry they, didn't support you. Even if it's completely not true, you could think it's true from a traumatized child perspective, because we literally put the youngest version of us that we can remember having this feeling, and it may be a feeling of abandonment or betrayal or rejection, and we heal it by bringing up scenarios, and it could be anything. We make it up as we go along. So this is almost the opposite the wheel of the Akashic records. Even though it's got a little protocol of a long form and a short form, other than that, we're making things up kind of as we go along as to how the client feels. So if the client feels, scared and angry because they won't let her play, we will show her compassion. I'm so sorry they're scaring you and they won't let you play. It can literally be as reflective and reactive as that in that moment. And then there's some others that are I've set up that are progressive that I've found success with as I address their versions as they grow. So so we may start with feeling supported at a very young age, and then move into um, um, unconditional love at a little bit older, and then from there we may get into young adult or teenagehood, where self-empowerment becomes an issue, and I'll use some basic phrases and then tailor it based on how the client feels, because that's what the wound is. That's what's being triggered, is
Okay.
that wound deeply buried. That's that feeling that they couldn't reach yet. And this is just a quick way of doing it. And so it sort of fills in the areas in between what the Akashic Records does. And so from my perspective, between the two, it really covers a whole lot of ground.
So if someone wanted to try this, because I haven't done this, guy, so I can't speak from experience. So how would it work? I mean, what does it look like time-wise, format-wise? Is it a telephone call? Is it a
Yeah.
Zoom call?
We do it over Zoom.
Okay.
You could actually I can direct you to go on the Compassion Key website. You can go that way. I can give you a $25 coupon.
I'll put all that stuff in the comments below.
And actually get a session done.
Okay, so you do that through your facilitator on their website.
Yes, because
Okay.
they got.
Okay.
But I also do it on my own.
Okay. Okay.
There's no certification. I'm actually at master level with that. I shouldn't. There is certification, but they did not have a protocol of setting up any type of practice from there. But what's happened is the teacher, who has been involved in spiritual work for 30 to 40 years, he's done it. He's lived with monks in Thailand or something. He's literally done it all, until he came up, like, this was the final modality to enlighten him, because
Okay.
everything, he'd done everything. And this was sort of the last piece of the puzzle. And he is getting, and he's, right now, he has some ads out there, and it's called the persecution, the persecution imprint of light workers, because almost every light worker has had a past life in which they were deeply spiritually connected, and that was a huge threat back in, you know,
That's why
early
we're here
Christians.
now.
Yeah, yeah. So we've all been, burned at the stake, drowned, and we're clearing those type of wounds. And so my Akashic records are healing blocks, restrictions, thought forms, programming, all of those types of blocks, restrictions, and karma. The compassion key is healing the wounds that aren't
That's the
necessary.
second stage, right? Like the Akashic records is the assessment, and then the compassion key is like, now this is how we deal with the wounds.
Yeah, it's
right?
sort
It's
of
like
two
almost
different,
like
like one is
two-stage.
dealing with
Yeah,
the trauma device or program, you know what I mean, the weapon,
yeah,
and even if it's mind control, but it's still it's the weapon on every level possible, from the physical to the mental to the emotional to the 5D spiritual. So all bodies, all dimensional levels, third, fourth, and fifth. And so it's looking at, yes, what are the weapons? What are the programs? Where did they come in? When did they come in? Who's projecting them?
mhm,
The compassion key is strictly healing the wound of such trauma and use of weapons on us that are deeply, deeply buried, that all the other modalities haven't reached, because the rest of them do address other things, but the compassion key is sort of like the last piece. It's like the mop, the cleanup
yeah, that's a great image.
of the last of those wounds that we're just not going to uncover in other modalities. So what we do is we throw out statements that are going to trigger someone. And I've watched videos where he's started this year, and people are literally going into, schisms, and almost screaming, because it is hit a trauma so deeply buried they can't control it. These are involuntary movements and vocal reactions that don't even sound human sometimes, and he is poking at some deeply embedded things.
And again, what's so important about the training is not just that you know the words to say or the phrases to say or how to lead the conversation, but just like with the other modality, with the Akashic modality, you, like a massage therapist, we have to be able to deal with people's emotional reactions sometimes that they have to body work, and you have to be able to contain
hold space
for this person, and you don't know what's they're going to react, and
I don't have a clue.
And that's an important part of the training.
Yes, and I think honestly, the training was my life story. I grew up around a lot of people not showing up as their best self, we'll just say, and I'm used to living in that environment, and I guess I know I will survive because I'm still here, and so I can hold space for things that are in a lack of love.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with the lack of love environment, relationship, and having to sit in that and still connect to that part of myself that still is love. And I think it was some of that life training that allowed me to do that, because it's very triggering for the facilitator also.
Yeah.
And because you're also saying this within your own presence.
Right.
So you're also somewhat triggering yourself and somewhat healing yourself, because you're just telling them what to say to themselves. And so they're just repeating what you're saying. I'm telling them, I'm so sorry, they abandoned you and left you behind.
Right.
And then they're saying to their youngest version of themselves, sometimes it's in the womb. Some people remember that, and they're literally saying, I'm so sorry they abandoned you, and left you behind. So we're like another person giving ourselves love and compassion. And I ask them to envision this version of themselves. And it goes
Beautiful.
from a child who is so angry or so sad, they won't face the person in the circle. They won't, they're so angry, and we won't stop giving compassion to that version of them
Mm.
until that child is either happy, laughing, wants to come
Awesome.
sit in the person's lap. Um, and so that's where we want to get them. And for me, if I can do that, and then we still have time, or they want to do more sessions, then I will advance that person, and it has worked really well. And that actually wasn't even part of the protocol. But I will then take them to their, 8-year-old self, their 7-year-old,
Mm.
their
Mhm.
21-year-old self, and then we start getting into, power equals responsibility, and
Yeah.
so they want the freedom and the power that goes with it, but they weren't ready for the responsibility and the accountability or the obligation that comes with it. And so we go through all of those perspectives that have kept them small, or have kept them from accepting responsibility or having success, because they've shut themselves down or programmed themselves that it wasn't safe to be
Right.
successful. And this is from childhood, because what they were taught, programmed, conditioned to do was to silence the dysfunction going on in the home.
Right.
They were praised for showering their parents with love and making their dreams come true, while disowning their own. And they stay in that because that was the only way they could receive
Right.
any acceptance or approval as a child. And they never got out of that. So
Right.
they're still running that program at 40 and wondering why they can't be successful. And that's where we dig deep with those phrases. And I try to connect the dots of, okay, well, you needed your parents' love. You gave up your hopes and dreams, and in order to uh, realize your parents' hopes and dreams. And um, this was how. I'm so sorry. That's how they taught you love. You know,
So somebody, let's say somebody wants to try this, but of course they want a little bit more information first. So they give you a call or they give you an email. What when a session starts, do you give them, like, for me to do the Akashic records, there was some information I had to give you: name, birthplace, birth time, all that stuff. Is there, does the client just walk into this and start talking about themselves, or is there information that you gather before the actual Zoom call?
yeah. So they fill out a little form and just talk about their challenges. By the time we have the Zoom call, there could be totally different challenges. So we could
Oh, okay.
spend 15 minutes in the beginning talking about new challenges or different challenges, or how, and typically they're always related in some
Right.
way. And I have men, unfortunately, are very resistant to this compassion key modality. They like it in the way that it's presented in the beginning, because my teacher has been doing classes with thousands of people who want to clear this the
Right.
light workers persecution imprint.
Yeah, of course.
And he does the short term, the short method, which is, um, I deserve to be loved unconditionally and receive more abundance than I need. Um, I deserve to, um, have unrestricted love, compassion, and people have a real problem with those things when they get into it, because we ask them to connect, to their heart, their solar plexus. So now we
Mhm.
ask them to start saying these phrases, and they're bumping into, well, I
Mhm.
don't really believe I deserve
Right.
more money than what I need. That's selfish. How could that's taking away from, so all those old belief systems come up. Um, and so he does that with them. Here's why I'm even doing that program right now, is because he's had so many students come in that way, And part of when they sign up for his program, he does free sessions in the beginning, which have been unbelievable for some people. Once they buy a package, they also get a free session with a master practitioner, which would
Which
be
is you.
myself.
Mhm.
And then we do the long form, which is the circle 8 with the young version of ourselves opposite us.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a little different. So when
Like the younger you is sitting in the chair across
the
from you.
child, yes, and the men have a lot of problem with this. They literally will say, "Hey, look, I got this problem with work. I don't do the inner child
Yeah.
thing, and I've got a
Too
lot of
much.
resistance." Yes, it's just too for them disempowering. It's too vulnerable for them
Mhm.
until I tell them, "Hey, look," and this is what I tell them. The wound you're talking about can't be solved at your
Right.
adult level.
Mhm.
Okay, it's got to be solved where it was created, in your 3-year-old childhood. When it came from your parents left to go to the
Whatever.
movies,
Yeah.
and to you they were gone for the rest of your life and never coming back. These are how these wounds are created. They're
Mhm.
created from a child's mind who does not have the experience or perspective to put it in its true, correct form. And we forget that we've been programmed like this when we get into
Right.
adulthood, and it's now locked in our subconscious. We don't even know it's there. It's
Mhm.
running 24/7 in the background.
An operating system
Yes.
controlling everything.
And it's only through these triggering that it is brought to the surface
Mhm.
because we suddenly feel so uncomfortable.
Right.
It's been hidden, it's been unconsciously programming our reactions, our drive, our abilities, or what we believe them to be. And we know that our beliefs create our reality. So if our subconscious says that we must give away our power to our parents because we won't survive if we don't,
Mm.
we must break our DNA codes of who we really are by inserting pieces that don't belong to us, by taking out pieces that they
Yeah.
don't like, by twisting them, distorting them. We will do that because we are at their mercy to survive. And so this is how we become who we're not. And so through both of these realities, we can see um, what some of it's what we've always known, and it's just a confirmation. And some people really will cry at that because it's like they've felt this their whole life. They've tried to
Yeah.
explain it to people, and they look like
The dam breaks.
yeah, like they're suspicious psychos. Why do you think everybody's out to get you? Well, it isn't. People aren't doing this necessarily all the time in the physical, but it could be happening just nonstop in the energetic, and you're running that program. That's what you're doing. There's nothing that has been able to get you out of it. Um, and so, whether it's upholding a wound that we programmed even ourselves with, a lot of it is our own, illusions, our self-programming. And sometimes we need that to even want to continue on with life. Um, so there's reasons for all of this. Um, and we've agreed to 100% of it. So, but when we take our power back, we realize that if anybody else had the power to do all this to us without our agreement, we would have to rely on them to fix us. We would have to give the power to them to correct it. And so, because we don't have to do that, when we become, decide that we're going to be responsible for it all, then we have the power to change it all.
Amen.
And that's the beauty of it.
Amen. Okay, so just to wrap up, and everything's going to be in the notes below the video. So we're talking about two modalities here. We're talking about soul realignment, which is the extensive, well, it can be the short version, Akashic reading, or it can be the extensive. And I'm telling you, I think our time literally was 4 hours.
And we can break that up too.
Akashic reading, soul realignment, and then we're talking about the compassion key, kind of like that it's a talking cure kind of thing. So you're like me, you don't like to nail things down into prices, but give people an idea of like the two ranges of time and price for the soul realignment Akashic records type of thing.
And I
Because people are going to ask.
yeah, I've got my own blocks with getting paid for this, which
yeah.
I've had to work through. So I've done a lot of this work for free. But it literally it can take me anywhere from 4 to 8 hours. And so what I've been guided to ask for higher than so basically just the short profile without the blocks and restrictions would be 59.
Okay, and that's the soul realignment. That's kind of like the
soul profile.
the soul short version of the Akashic record.
Level 1 is 111, and that covers it's mostly the 4D blocks, the mental and emotional, and some of the 5D. When I get into 2 and especially 3, these are the 3D blocks, literally in our at a deeper level. So, we're looking at probably 222 for that. And for the compassion key, I'm just doing 111 for that. And
that's like an hour.
An hour to
minutes
2 hours.
Oh, okay. So 111 for up to 2 hours. So that's very reasonable, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. And that one's just kind of walking you through your emotional landscape, as it were, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And they actually have the special for the $25 coupon, and so I think you're getting an initial visit on that one for $25. So you could get the initial compassion key 2-hour session for $25.
So she's talking about if you go through the actual website, then she can offer you a coupon code. If you just email Michelle herself and she does it with you directly, then there's a price point there.
Yeah, so
okay, just for general idea. Well, thank you. We totally got rained out, and we didn't get to accomplish anything on the land we wanted to. But we had a nice Thai lunch in the rain.
Right.
And we got to spend time together, which is always welcome. And we got this out. So I'm going to wrap this up. And thank you, my friend, for hanging out with me and sharing. And everything is going to be in the comments below for you guys. I can't speak of Compassion Key. I didn't do that work, but the soul alignment was just remarkable. And I'm familiar with this kind of stuff. So if I say it was remarkable, believe me, it was remarkable. So cool. So I think Michelle and I are going to have some iced tea, and hopefully you guys will have a chance to call Michelle sometime soon. All right.
Bye.
Bye.